Wealth creation comes down to one word: discipline. That's it. The ability to look at something and say, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to keep that money working for me. Not many people have that discipline.
If you don't have the discipline to save $1,000, you don't have the discipline when you make a lot of money. You're going to spend it all. It's not really the $1,000 as much as what it represents.
Whatever you earn, don't spend more than 2/3 of what you earn. Save 1/3, because you will need that 1/3 in times of difficulty. And also, the 1/3 that you save gives you what you call optionality, flexibility.
The most valuable financial skill that anybody can have is not needing to impress other people. If you don't need to impress other people, that is an asset on your balance sheet that is worth $1 billion. Because so much of society as a whole and an individual is just geared towards, how can I get other people's attention? How can I show off to other people? How can they like me more?
I believe in life, one of our main goals is just to be happy. But the thing is, if you spend all of your money today on clothing, traveling, and luxury goods, you might be happy today, but you're not going to be happy in the future when you have to work until the day that you die because you can't afford to retire. And so if you want to learn to be happy in life, you need to learn how to find a balance between spending money today and enjoying life today, while saving money for your future so that you can enjoy your future.
We all want to have financial freedom, of course. Everybody wants to have financial freedom. But if you want to get to financial freedom, what do you have to have? You have to have financial discipline. You have to have the discipline to work hard. You have to have the discipline to save your money. You have to have the discipline to invest your money properly. You have to have the discipline not to buy stupid things that you don't even actually need. And if you can have that kind of financial discipline, you'll end up with financial freedom.
It takes discipline to stick to your budget. It takes discipline to invest your extra cash in your index fund rather than blow it on designer clothes or a fancy holiday. It takes discipline to get up early or stay up late working on your side business to generate extra income that you can then invest. It takes discipline to pay off high interest debt rather than buying more things on credit just because you can.
Let me tell you something powerful. Success is not an accident. It's not luck. It's not talent. It is a decision backed by two forces: vision and discipline. Vision is where you're going. Discipline is what gets you there. You can dream of the mountain, but without discipline, you'll never take the first step. You can imagine the life you want, the wealth, the health, the impact. But if you can't control your time, your habits, your emotions, that vision will stay a fantasy.
You got to get out of debt. Your most powerful wealth building tool is your income. And when you spend your whole freaking life giving your money to banks who fill up the skyline and have furniture nicer than yours, that makes you stupid. Get out of debt. When you don't have any payments, you know what you've got? Money.
Debt is a leading cause of financial stress. It impacts decision making, all of these things. And a lot of people look at their credit card debt and they bury their heads in the sand because they think this is something I can never get myself around.
Once you start, something shifts inside of you. You no longer see yourself as just a worker, you see yourself as a builder. You stop living only for today and start building for tomorrow. Every deposit, no matter how small, is a brick in the house of your financial independence. Now let me add something deeper. Discipline doesn't just protect your wallet, it shapes your character. Every time you choose to save instead of spend, you're not only building wealth, you're building identity. You're becoming the kind of person who can be trusted with more. The universe has a strange way of rewarding those who prove faithful with little by entrusting them with more. But if you squander the little, why would you ever be given much? Think of the farmer. He doesn't need every seed he has because he knows seeds are not just food, they are tomorrow's harvest. He takes a portion, plants it, waters it, protects it. Months later, the harvest multiplies.
Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It's the decision to stop being dragged by your impulses and instead become the architect of your actions. And you don't need a perfect system. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need one day today where you do not flinch. You do not bend. You do not give in to the voice that says, maybe later. Today you say no to the old patterns.
like the most underrated thing is budgeting. Okay, I don't care if you're only making $2,000 a month or you're making $100,000 a month. If you don't know how to budget your money and you don't know where your money is going, like you're already gonna fail at that point.
Never finance anything that isn't gonna pay you. Okay, so
give me an example.
Gucci, your vacations, your car. Stop financing these things that aren't paying you. And people are gonna get upset when I say your car because they're gonna say, wait, how am I supposed to buy a car without a car payment?
Don't buy a $100,000 car unless you've got the money in the bank to buy it. And plus more. Buy a used car for $6,000.
Exactly.
A lot of what's probably giving you stress in life is that you don't have control over what you're doing. And if you view every dollar of savings that you have as a bit of your future that you own and control, then I think that mindset can shift pretty dramatically. And it's like, that's the ticket out. The ticket out is not a nicer car. It's not a bigger house. It's not better clothes. The ticket out is independence. That's what's going to give you the better career. It's what's going to make you happier. It's what's going to make you healthier. And the only thing that's going to give you independence is having enough money saved up so that you can choose where you want to live, maybe even what job you want. You can choose at some point down the road when you retire. If you get sick, it's not just going to break you immediately. Having that independence is going to take more weight off your shoulders than anything else you can do in life.
Save money.
That's it.
Discipline turns dreams into plans, plans into action, and actions into results. Think of it like this. Vision is the blueprint. Discipline is the hammer and nails. One without the other is worthless. Every successful person you admire, they had a clear vision, but more importantly, they had the guts to show up when they didn't feel like it, to say no to distractions, to stay focused when no one was watching. They built a bridge brick by brick, day by day, while others waited for the perfect moment. You want success? Then don't wait. Get a vision so clear it burns in your soul. Then back it up with ruthless daily discipline, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because that is the bridge to the life you were meant to live.
Saving money for later in life. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people have a hard time investing money or saving money for later in life, simply because as human beings, we vary in the extent to which we worry about what's going to happen later. There's also a phenomenon of so-called delayed discounting. Delayed discounting is the fact that goals become less rewarding when they exist further out in the future.
I had $1,000 in my bank and I went out and I bought a $1,000 watch. I was like 18 years old, right? So it was like, I was in that industry, the entertainment industry. I wanted to look cool. And then, I start to read these money books and my mindset starts to shift. And now all of a sudden, it's like I went from one polar extreme to the other polar extreme. I don't want to spend a penny.
On anything.
On anything.
Unless it's making me money.
Exactly. I don't want to spend anything unless it's making me money. So now I'm saving as much money as I can. I'm investing my money as much as I can. I'm trying to build my business. And I'm talking like I'm running my shoes into the ground. They have holes in them. I put a piece of tape, wrap it up. I'm going to school. I got rental properties, but I got my shoes that are taped up, right? And it's like, I realize that I'm going to go, I'm not going to make those same mistakes again.
You can't have a person worrying about money and thinking about debt and always working at getting out of debt that's going to end up wealthy. They're not going to do it. If your goal is to get out of debt, you'll probably stay in debt forever because you attract what you think about.
The harder you work, the better you get. The harder you work, the better you get. In our society today, there's a lot of controversy over why should I work so hard for my job? The fact of the matter is that less than 5% really succeed. That's less than 5% of the population really succeed at life. Of 100 people working today, only one will be wealthy when they retire. 4 will be financially independent, 15 will have some savings, 80% will be broke and dependent upon charities and pensions. Only 1 or 2% of people in each generation really makes it in life. And in every single study, those people who make it are those who work hard, hard, hard. And if you think that it's hard to be successful, try being a failure. Try coming to the end of the trail with no money, dependent upon pensions, and you don't know what hard is until you try living like that.
Number one, you need to have a written plan, a budget. Jesus said, don't build a tower without first counting the cost, lest you get halfway up and you're unable to finish, and all who see you begin to mock you and say, this man began to build. No one began to build and was unable to finish. No one accidentally wins at anything, and you're not the exception.
Why is it that two people can sit side by side in the same office, start with the same paycheck, and yet a decade later, one is living with freedom while the other is suffocating under debt? Let me give you the truth you don't want to hear. It's not luck, it's not talent, and it's not the economy. The great divider isn't income, it's discipline. You can double your salary and still end up broke if your habits are sloppy. You can earn modest wages and quietly build wealth if your habits are wise. That's the contradiction most people never face. You think more money will solve your problems, but more money without discipline only multiplies chaos. Here's the reality. Your financial destiny isn't waiting for a raise, it's waiting for you to take control. And if you stay with me, I'll show you how. When I was young, I thought money was the answer. If I could just earn more, I believed all the pressure would disappear. But here's what life taught me. Income doesn't equal wealth. I met people making over $100,000 a year who were living paycheck to paycheck, stressed out and drowning in bills.
There was a Spanish distiller said the good life is expensive. There's another way to live that doesn't cost as much, but it isn't any good. I subscribe to that.
And so what you got to do is you got to realize that every day is the day that you live, and every day sort of compounds. And every decision you make in that day will compound, meaning that it will build on itself. And so if you make a right decision, like save, sometimes it doesn't feel like the right thing to do, right? You know, sometimes buying something nice and that makes you feel good feels much better.
A little therapeutic.
But you gotta really like
I'm a victim.
Pull it together. It's just like working out. It's about discipline, and it's about a long-term vision, understanding that you starting here, that's point A, there's gonna be a point B, point C, and so forth.
Why does discipline equal freedom?
Because the more discipline you have in your life, the more freedom you will end up with. So if you lack the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up being a slave to disease. If you lack the discipline to work hard, save your money, you will end up a slave to finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time correctly, you will end up with no free time. If you have self-discipline, if you have the discipline to save your money and work hard and invest your money properly, if you have the discipline to manage your time correctly and not waste a bunch of time, if you have the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up with freedom.